Our next guest is here. She's waiting, and that is Kristen. Thank you for being here and making this so interactive. Amazing. So, Kristen is going to talk about the cost of not being heard, reclaiming voice in a loud world. Welcome, Kristen. Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, perfect. So, Kristen stands for helping children and parents reclaim the voice they thought they lost without. I'm not sure what she's going to share with us. So, we're going to wait and find out. She believes quiet isn't weakness. So, Kristen, are you going to tell us what is it? Quiet isn't weakness. So, what is it? We'll find out. She is committed to guiding families to replace silence with, I don't know yet. Silence doesn't mean a child has nothing to say. Today, she is here to show us that when we do something, something happens. So, I am so excited to hear your talk, Kristen. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you. Awesome. It's all yours.
I want to just start by saying thank you again. I'm going to be sharing a personal story in a little bit, but I just wanted to talk about how our world is loud. It's flooded with so many opinions, advice, and noise. Much of it can be uninvited. Often it can conflict. How many of you have been told one thing and then advised to do the exact opposite from someone else? Raise your hand if you had, or if you're in the chat, maybe you can respond, because I know I have. The information we can access is pouring out from every device and platform. We could truly be well informed, but instead we often feel overwhelmed and confused. And so many of us cannot hear our own voice. It's like we're invisible. But I am not here to teach you about your lost voice. I'm here to share with you what I've lived, seen, and reclaimed. Let me share the story of my silence. I was the student who sat in class quietly, a rule follower, but the moment I made eye contact with my teacher, I would quickly look away. I observed from a pretty early age that making eye contact with somebody is not something you do. I often watched my mother sit in silence, and she was often physically absent and even more emotionally absent. So my thoughts, I just learned to keep in my head. And they were often circling without a clear way to make sense of it or process it. The school told me that I was well behaved, but strangely, my presence was not rewarded. It was my silence. And when silence is rewarded, my voice becomes unsafe. So, do you know who I relied on? The students who spoke up all the time, the students who appeared to be born with an unshakable voice. Sometimes, if there was enough silence before anyone wanted to answer, I would slowly raise my hand, but then I would tell myself, I can't, not me. My hesitation always allowed others to speak before me. My participation efforts were fewer and further apart. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because every time I did, I felt smaller. In a world flooded with opinions, advice, and authority, I learned to disappear beneath the noise. Not because I didn't have thoughts, but because the system didn't know how to listen. In the past, my voice was powerless. But why? When did I start making this association? Who created this story? Why am I reinforcing this label? I want you to realize this feeling was actually a misunderstanding. When I watched my mom sit silently, it became my norm. There was no outlet to my thoughts. I created patterns on how thoughts should be kept to yourself. I told myself that I am a quiet person. I convinced myself that being loud was unacceptable. Sadly, I would believe my voice is not important. If your child or your inner child stopped speaking up, ask, did they lose their confidence? Or did they lose their safety? But I am here to tell you out loud, silence was never my protection. It was all a misperception, guided by faulty training. With forgiveness and acceptance, I have gained awareness. I can tell you that by reframing my thoughts with compassion and understanding, I understand I hold the power to my voice. And all of you hold the power to your voice. We can't just think our way out of silence, but we can retrain our brain to feel safe speaking. That's what I do now as a holistic neurogrowth learning success coach. We have helped thousands of students reframe their thoughts. As a neurogrowth holistic learning success coach with training in the Blocks to Flow method, we use the Talk to Your Brain method to retrain our brain. Did you know that we have about 6,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day? I know it's a lot. I did not realize it was that much. Did you also know that 80% of our thoughts are negative? I did not expect it to be that high. So it is not surprising that most people have a fixed mindset rather than a growth mindset. And many people do not understand how to be accountable for their own thoughts. When I realized my voice made me feel negative, tired, and drained, it was no longer serving me. It did not feel safe. We are all capable of shifting our thoughts from being a victim to them to being responsible for them. When we take control of our thoughts, we open the doorway to curiosity. Our voice is more than sound. It is how we tell ourselves we are safe. It is how we identify ourselves. Our voices are rooted in safety. Our voices are grounded in our identity. So, to feel safe, your identity should not be defined by your emotions, your roles, nor your career, because it's common to say things about how you are your emotions, like, I'm feeling frustrated, or I am sad, or claiming your life is defined by a job or a role, such as, I'm the only one who can take care of my child. Know that your voice is encompassed by your values and your energy. Your voice is not a megaphone, it's your compass. And when you lose it, you lose direction. I want to offer you some small but powerful practices to create space for your voice. So, with honesty and kindness, no judgment, I want us to take a moment to bring awareness inward to your breath. So bring one hand to your heart, one hand to your gut. If you can, close your eyes and turn your gaze downward. And let's take a deep breath in for a count of 4 and hold for 2 and exhale for 8. It's okay if you couldn't reach the count. Let's practice again. It's all about practicing. So again, count. Let's inhale for a count of 4. Nice deep inhale. Hold for 2. Let everything out with 8. All right, one more time. I want you to feel your belly expand as you inhale for 4. Hold. And if you can, let out as you exhale. So with your breath regulated and all that oxygen flowing to all your main organs, I want you to turn your awareness to your mind and your heart. And I want to give you some space to reflect on your voice. So if you can get a piece of paper and something to write with. And as you're writing, let whatever words come down on the paper, let them flow. Where did you learn to shrink your voice? And what might shift if you saw your voice not as volume, but as value? When you find yourself trying to define who you are or what to say, you can ask these 3 powerful questions. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? And there are no right or wrong answers. These questions are simply a way to bring the unconscious to conscious, a way to meet yourself with compassion, a way to hear your voice before the world rushes in. If your child stops speaking up, maybe they did not lose their confidence. Maybe they lost their safety. With the many children and teens I have worked with, they become quiet because they're thinking others are thinking negatively towards them. It could have been that laughter under someone's breath. It could have been that stare that was 1 second too long, a look in their direction, and then a whisper into a classmate's ear. With those kinds of moments, it turns into these negative stories. And thoughts like this, such as you're asking too many questions, can start floating around. That is a stupid question. You're supposed to know that. Asking a question when those thoughts are circulating in your head will leave your child feeling exposed and defenseless. What if your quiet isn't your weakness, but it's your nervous system trying to protect your truth? A misunderstanding that silence is your self-preservation. What would shift if we saw voice as sacred, not optional? For too long, we have let others overtake the one that matters, your voice. You are made of your mind, heart, and soul, not others. Not the critics, not the systems, or the old stories. Only you can speak your truth. With gentle sincerity, you are allowed to question the beliefs you were taught, the learned patterns, the passed on beliefs. You are allowed to unlearn what made you feel small. You are allowed to rewrite the rules. It's all within your power to rewire your thoughts to the ones that hold your truth, the ones that give you power, thoughts that make space for your voice, thoughts that restore your power. because your voice is not too much. It's not too quiet. It's not too late. What I know is this: voice is not just something we use, it's something we reclaim. And I wanted to share an offer with everyone.
I love that. Say that again. I love it. Say that
Voice
once.
is, sure,
Yeah.
voice is not just something we use, it's something we reclaim.
Beautiful. Because it means so much to me, because I also muted myself when I was young. So, yeah, muting is the way of protecting yourself when you, everything you said just related. And sometimes you don't even have to mute it, you just stay silent, and it's not even that extreme. But you have lots of questions here, but go ahead and tell us what you have for us first.
Yes, I wanted to offer the first 3 people to email me the 5-day rhythm to roots. And yep, so my email, I think it should be being displayed on the screen somewhere.
Yeah, and also in the journal, if you go to where Kristen's talk is, you can see a QR code and also her links to connect with her. So that's how also you can access this or email her here as well. But we will provide you all of that on the journal that we provided, or you can also sign up for our magazine, and she has an article there related to this. Kristen, let's go through some of these things that people are saying, because we got lots going on here on the chat. We need to address some of this. So there was a question. They loved when you said this, the voice. Can you see the chat coming up? I'm displaying?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
I'm going to put there so you can look at it.
I can see it now. Yep.
It's true, it's kind. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Very powerful. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Lost their safety. There was a question I wanted to ask. Who asked a question? I saw it and here it is. I got it. Tony asked a question. What strategies do you have for taking control of your thoughts?
What strategies do I have personally to take control of my thoughts?
Or as a coach, what do you provide? How do you help?
I think one of the first things that I start to do as I'm coaching my students is to ask why. Sometimes with younger kids, it's more helpful to not have these really big, deep thinking questions, but more of a sensory way to look at it, depending on the age. But helping them understand why they're having this thought and digging a little bit deeper. And I honestly think those 3 questions I talked about earlier are really a good starting point to help dig deeper. Is it true? Is it kind? And is it helpful? Because sometimes our thoughts are just, like I shared that stat, we just have so many thoughts and they're popping through our head. We think these thoughts and we automatically can think they're true, but it's when you reframe it too and you try and say to somebody else, you're like, that's not really true. How can that happen? Or the odds of something like that happening are not really possible. So answering that question, is it true? And also, our thoughts, like I mentioned, can be so negative. And are we really saying something kind to ourselves? And reframing it into a way where we're asking, is this something I just need to work on? And how can I help myself grow and be better from it, rather than criticize and compare myself?
Absolutely. I think all of what you just shared is, if we wrap it up, it's awareness. First step is to bring awareness to our thoughts. And that you just said, 80% of the thoughts are negative. Even that, just knowing that, my thoughts are negative most of the time. So there's work to be done. So even bringing that. And then another exercise you just asked us to do was very, very good too, which is to write it down. You can ask kids to write it down. What are the thoughts that are coming up? Because sometimes we can't explain it. So that's another technique that you showed us today. It was very beautiful. There's another question here from Misty. How do you guide someone that is in silence?
How do I guide someone that is in silence? I think connection is really important, because you can't just ask somebody right away, like, why are you quiet? They're not going to open up to you.
No, talk
for me right now. So you have to connect with them in a way that helps them feel comfortable, and then that way they can open up. So maybe just whatever the issue is, put that aside and just get to know them as a person, figure out something that maybe you can be very observant of, even what they're wearing or maybe what they're holding or doing, finding a way to connect with them in that way, and just having a conversation about that so you can be relaxed and letting them share what they feel comfortable sharing first, and then slowly building in some questions that are centered around being curious about what it is they're shutting down about. Because again, it's their nervous system trying to protect them, and we just want to make them feel safe.
Yeah, perfect. Curious and safety. Safety first. They have to feel safe in order to open up. Here's another question from Catherine. As a teacher, how can I provide safety so that students can speak and participate in class? Because they don't like being called on. Remember,
Yeah.
I was like, when teacher starts looking around, I'm like, oh, I'm so busy. I'm picking up pencils and moving things around because I'm so busy.
Yeah. I would bend over and look in my backpack.
Yeah, I go down right away.
You can't even see me.
Yeah.
You need to, again, create a way to help them feel safe. And maybe it's not going to be a way that where you traditionally want a student to speak up. Like speaking in front of 30 students in the classroom, that's a lot of pressure. So giving them options to share their voice in a different way, whether it is to write it on a whiteboard or turn it in on a slip of paper, or having them come to you before class. Maybe you can give them an opportunity to share beforehand and ask them if you can share on their behalf.
Here's another question. How do we get someone who's lost their voice when they were a teen to speak up because of them being a new student at a new place or a new school or a new country, which was myself?
So if they're in a new environment, I think it would be really important to think about, again, what will help them feel safe. So if they're from a different town or different country, so it might be a cultural aspect. If it's from a different country, maybe you can learn how to say hello in their new language, or if it's in different town, just asking them about what went on in their school that helped them feel connected to their teachers and classmates. And I think it would be important to try and find the time to do that one-on-one so that you can help them feel safe and not help be exposed in front of everyone and feel vulnerable and unsafe.
Yeah. I think for me, what would have helped at that time was my parents talking to me that it's okay, you don't know the language. They also were struggling. We all moved, right, to a new place. When we are all going through the same thing, they don't think about sharing that with us. If you could share that, I understand how you're feeling at school. Just saying that, just that one sentence would have made me feel like, oh, okay, what I'm feeling is okay. I felt like what I'm feeling and what I was put into a show. If you were in a show and you're never prepared and you're supposed to speak, you're just going to get scared. So I was scared. It was more scared than anything. So if somebody could have eliminated me feeling scared by saying it's okay, you should feel scared because you're in a new place. You don't know the language, so it will take time. And the language is not something you learn over a day or two. It's going to take years. I just needed some, like, those kind of facts. They are facts, right? They're not emotional. So if I could hear that, then I'm go, okay, I just had to work at this. Instead, I had to perfect it the next month or something. So it's those unknowns as a child. We then create stories, and then we make more stories to validate that story. And now we're in a pool of 80% negative thoughts.
Yes. Right? So validating their feelings That's really
Yeah.
important.
Yes.
And
Any other questions for Kristen? Great questions. And there is another one. Sometimes getting to know families help because then you will see how they interact as family. Oh yeah, as a teacher. If you get to know the family, then you can, right, Kristen?
yeah, getting to know the families, that's important too, and interacting with them.
Yeah, as a teacher. And even teachers, like for me, as you know, what I related to your story, Kristen, today was that the more quiet you go, what happened to me was that people thought I was performing. She's a great student. She's always quiet. She's always on her own. Like we just get forgotten. We just become a table and a desk. The body
Yes.
doesn't exist there anymore because we're so quiet. We're not the problem makers. So those quiet ones are also suffering
So
silently,
true.
not just the
Yep.
louder ones. Anything else? Anyone else? Awesome, Kristen. So Kristen's information is in the journal. You can connect with her and claim her free gift. She's amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story with us. It's not
Thank you
easy.
so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.